A police officer without proper training and another black man dead. When will this change? A few of my subscribers asked me to give my take on the Daunte Wright incident. If you haven't watched it already, I'm going to put it up here for you to watch. But when I first watched it, I was filled with sorrow and anger because he did not deserve to die. One of my biggest issues with this entire thing was the police officer yelled, "Taser, taser, taser." She pulled out the gun, felt it was a gun, and was still okay with pulling the trigger and shooting him. She should be thrown in jail and charged with murder because that is what she did. Even though she is a police officer, she should not be exempt from murder. Her job is to serve and protect, not to kill, and she should be held accountable for her actions. Being a police officer for that many years, and you still don't know the difference between a gun and a taser. How did she even get that badge in the first place? We just come to show the lack of proper training in the police department. Some look at this as an act of racism. Others think she meant to kill him. Me personally, I think she made a mistake. But as a police officer, you have no room to make mistakes. Everybody is looking at you to be perfect. Because when you make a mistake, especially with a gun, it can result in someone's death. If she meant to kill him from the start like some people think, she would have shot him the moment he broke off and started to run into his car. This is why I don't think racism was involved in this incident at all. He did not get pulled over because he was black. There was also a black police officer, but he got pulled over because he was driving with an expired tag. As you could tell from the video, the black police officer was pulling on Daunte's shirt so that he would not drive off instead of pulling out his gun, which was the right thing to do. But for some reason, the female police officer pulled out her taser, which was a gun, and shot him. She should be held accountable for her actions because he is dead, and that was murder. I am going to play devil's advocate and talk about some things that people don't want to hear. But for some reason, police officers are judged and held accountable for their actions in the eye of the public because they are supposed to be perfect and do everything right. While on the other hand, the victim is not to be judged nor held accountable for anything that they did wrong, which does not justify the action of the police officers. For me personally, when I look at situations, I like to hold each side accountable. What could each one of them have done differently to help the situation? Holding somebody accountable for their actions does not mean you are justifying what happened. What you are merely doing is pointing out the fact that they could have done something different to help the situation. Some of you probably don't know this and some of you don't care. Not that it changes anything or justifies what happened to Daunte Wright. But prior to this, he was arrested for illegal possession of gun. He was let out, given a court date to appear for his hearing. What he decided to do was to not show up, so they put out a warrant for him. He decides to go on a run, and instead of letting his girlfriend drive his car with the expired tag, he drives it himself. In the video, you see the police officers struggling to put the handcuffs on Daunte Wright. He was not cooperating. He breaks off and tries to get into his car to drive away because he knew because of his warrant he was going to be arrested, which is something that you should never do. Do not try to drive away or run away from the police while you are being arrested. This is something that some people don't want to hear, especially as a black man. If you know that police officers can shoot you or kill you for no reason, why not cooperate with them and make their job less difficult? Yes, I do understand that they can still kill you even if you cooperate, but you have more of a survival rate when you cooperate with them instead of making their job more difficult. If you know that a police officer can shoot you for no reason, why give him or her a reason to shoot you? Every time I get pulled over by a cop, I treat them all the same way, with respect. Yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. And I'm planning on doing the same thing with my children. I'm going to teach them manners because it starts from their home. Sometimes I see people get pulled over, and what do? First thing they start doing is cussing out the cops. Why make their job more difficult instead of just cooperating, whether you like it or not? Because at the end of the day, they have the gun, you do not. That is why whenever I get pulled over by a police officer, I cooperate. I try to make their job easier because at that moment, my life is hanging on a thread. Daunte Wright did not deserve to die. We all know that. There's nothing that can be said or done to justify his death. What I'm trying to say is that I hold both sides accountable. The police officer, she was in the wrong. She should go to jail. She should be charged with murder, like I said earlier. As for people like us, when dealing with the cops, we need to change how we interact with the cops as well. Cops need better training. We need better interaction with the cops as well. Because it's not just one side. We need to learn to cooperate and not make their job more difficult, even if we are having a bad day, because at the end of the day, they have the gun.